All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Igniting Hope podcast brought to you by the Buffalo Center for Health Equity. I am one of your hosts, Sherman Webb-Middlebrooks, the lifelong Buffalo resident and full-time Black man. We want to thank you again for joining our conversation today as we discuss the social determinants of health and health outcomes in our community. So before we get started with our guests, just make sure that you click that like button, smash that like button, make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you get your fingers ready to get into the comments, so that way you could join in on this conversation that we're about to have. All right, so without further ado, I got a good friend of mine, one of my battle buddies in this work, Felcia Cruz. She has done many things throughout the years. I'm not actually sure exactly what she's up to and where she's up to it at right now, but I know she's out here doing the work in her professional life and in her personal life, just as an overall superwoman, a woman who I admire and I respect. Like I said, not only for who she does, for who she is in our community professionally, but for the woman that she is personally. So, Felcia Cruz, you go ahead and let folks know a little bit more about yourself and what you got going
Thank
on.
you, Sherman, for that. I appreciate it. So I can tell you what I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
now. Um,
Cool.
so right now I am a coordinator at the crisis services. So dealing
Okay.
heavily with mental health and suicide prevention. I've been doing that for a few years now. I actually was doing that as an intern when I was at Buff State. Came on as an intern, did per diem work throughout the years, kind of went away from it, and now I'm back and I am a coordinator and just really looking at the mental health side of it a little bit more, especially lately, probably the past few years after COVID and how it's increased in our communities. Still very taboo, still very not talked about enough. Still not a lot of resources, but just sticking with it because it's needed in our communities. I've lost a few personal, individuals to suicide prevention, so it's very dear to my heart. So just trying to, figure out how to help those who are hurting. That's one part of
Mm,
what I do. The other part
okay.
is I wear many hats, but that's one hat. I've been many years in the homeless population, homeless community, as you know.
Yes.
Code
Mm-hmm.
Blue, 15 years. Can't even believe that. 15 years that I've been going strong. Started off volunteering, ended up working as a shelter worker, still doing that type of work, and want to move forward in trying to open my own shelter that deals with veterans. I'm a veteran myself, so one of the things that I found out this year was there's not a lot of spaces for our veterans, people that have served our country, people that are my age that I served with, that are struggling with homelessness, mental health, substance abuse, things like that. And again, there's not enough shelters even for people that are not veterans that suffer from mental health and substance abuse. So that's where I'm kind of at now. I've been kind of all over the place with different areas that I have specialized in, but that's kind of where I'm going.
Right. Yeah, that's comes to me as no surprise. I know when I met you back when I was a teenager, you were doing some work as a mentor, helping us as youth, but also you were doing some work in the HIV and AIDS and sexual health space as well. So I know you've been doing many different things in various aspects of the community. So I think that you're a great person to kind of answer our first question that we try to ask all of our guests. So what does health and healthy living look like to you?
To me, it's stability. And when I say that, I'm just going to go right to it, housing.
Okay.
If you don't have stability in housing, nothing else really matters because you are worried about trying to find somewhere to live that night, that day, trying to, if you don't have rest, if you don't have a safe space, if you don't have a clean space to, live, then everything else subsides. Your health is going to be poor because you're not worried about going to the doctor. You're not worried about eating healthy. Um, you're not worried about, other aspects of your life because there is no stable housing. And I've said that for a long time. I've worked in housing for a while too, trying to place people. And without having that, I think is very vital to somebody's health, is knowing where I'm going to lay my head that night and be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that stuff. I think we were doing the in community health worker training where we have that video that we watched where they talk about the people who had housing stability growing up versus people at unstable housing, and just the amount of like times they catch the flu. So just like because you're stressed out due to your living environment, your living situation, like your immune system is overworked, you're stressed out, and that leaves you susceptible to contracting, diseases and infections just because your immune system is weak and compromised. Absolutely. Okay. So kind of a twofer on that. So we talked about health. What does equity look and feel and sound like to you?
Equity for me is everybody having the same opportunities. And that doesn't always happen, especially in different areas, different communities. Having those same opportunities as far as access to housing, access to education, access to healthcare, access to, things that are needed in everyday life. So for me, is it would be great to be, across the board, everybody gets the same, but it doesn't happen like that. And it's never happened that way.
Yeah, I feel you. And I think one of the things that we're trying to do, or not trying, one of the things that we are doing is we're infusing the word equity into the conversation a lot more. I think a lot of people understand equality and focus on equality, but don't really have a real sense of equity and what equity is and what equity looks like. And so a lot of people don't even know what the word means. They just think it's a fancy way of saying equal, or you're misspelling or mispronouncing equality. So I think there
Right.
needs to be some degree of education for the community around this word.
Right.
So you talked a lot in your intro about the work that you're doing, like regarding like homelessness and shelters and helping veterans and folks with like their mental health. So like, how did you get started in this work? Why did you get started doing this work? And what has been the impact of your work for people of color and people in your community in general?
So, dating me back a little bit. So, coming out the military, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I never thought I would end up in the social work field or anything like that. And I started by taking a job in HIV that didn't require much, but testing. At that time, testing was huge, knowing your status. And from there, I mean, doors just opened for me when I started that work in human service, going back to school, and ended up becoming a social worker and stayed in the HIV field for a while. From doing testing to outreach to education to working with women to working with children with HIV, teenagers, and minorities. So that kind of opened those doors for me as far as where I'm at now. So as I was doing some of the work, I also realized that I need education behind it. I need to educate myself. So going to school, I switched from criminal justice because, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So, hey, let me jump into criminal justice because that's what the military tells you to do. But really, when I started working at the needle exchange program, I said to myself, and I remember thinking, like, I need to understand what substance abuse and mental health looks like. I am working with people that have these, issues, and I'm out here trying to educate them, but I need to educate myself. Um, so I started going to school for mental health, substance abuse counseling. I started doing a lot of outreach. I went back to school for social work. And a lot of the work that I've done has always been boots on the ground, meeting people where they're at, going into communities that, may be high risk, whether it be high risk crime, high risk substance abuse, things like that. But also, I had a great mentors on the way who kind of took
Talk
me under
about
their
that.
wing. Mentors that took me under their wing and showed me It's not, just black and white. It's not a textbook. You have to really go out there and show communities that you really care about them. There's not a lot of people that do that even now. There's not a lot of people that actually go to these communities and, we're here. We're here to care about you and here to help you. So that's so important and to be consistent with that. So I was fortunate. I was very fortunate to have great mentors that did that for me, and I learned from them, and hopefully I passed it on to others, along the way. And I'm still out there, boots on the ground, because I still think that is so needed. Because a lot of times in the communities that we serve, we stay in those communities.
Right. Right.
We stay what we know. We stay with who we know. But so
Mm-hmm.
then in some of those pockets of the communities, there's not those resources. So bringing those resources to the community is huge. And I think in all aspects of the work that I've done, whether it's been with HIV, whether it's been sexual health, whether it's been homelessness and mental. So just having that access. And again, I was fortunate to have that. So also, I think that with the work that I've done or do, having that, I would say like that open mind for me on a personal level to understand that individuals that suffer from mental health, substance abuse, homelessness, they belong to somebody.
Right.
And I say this all the time. I will take all the mental health, all the substance abuse, all the people that others don't want to be bothered with. Because they don't. There's people that they don't want to be bothered with homelessness and why they're homeless,
Mm-hmm.
and what ended, and they don't want to be bothered with mental health. So I would take them all because they belong to somebody. Um, I have a brother and a sister who both suffer from mental health, substance abuse. So when I go into my shelters or I go into the streets, I always feel like, that's my brother, that's my sister, and I would want
Yeah.
other people to treat them as I would. So, just treating people with respect no matter where they're at.
Yeah. I will say that just because having worked with you, so just to piggyback on a few things that you've mentioned. So I will say that like you served not only like as like a mentor to me coming to work, especially like in the outreach space, doing community work, but also like the approach that I take, especially like with working with young people, but in community development in general, is like I'm a professional family member. So like I'm gonna have this conversation with you, like I would have with my little brother, like I would have with my daughter, like I would have with my mama, my auntie, my uncle, my cousin. Like I wouldn't tell you nothing, and I wouldn't tell them. I just so happens to be like how I pay my bills. Um, but like I'm not looking at folks in community no different than I'm looking at folks in my family because, like you said, we live and work in the same places. Um, we're doing a healing group right now. My mom and my uncle was in the healing group that that we're doing right now. So like,
So
yeah, it is.
awesome.
I love it. And it's like so those lines aren't blurred. Those lines don't exist. It's more of a lifestyle instead of an occupation, and you're one of the few people that like I totally respect and recognize and know that like you're a professional family member out here. This just ain't no job.
Thank you.
This is your lifestyle. Like you do this in your own family. I know that personally from things that you've shared. You the family social worker, the family caseworker, and and it just is who you are, and it's your role and it's your gift. And it's been a privilege to watch you work in that. Um,
And we
and
have
see,
those gifts. We have
yeah,
those gifts that we have to share. We
right.
got to share them. Everybody was put here on this earth to share something. And if you have that gift to share, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. And so in sharing your gifts, what would you say have been some of your biggest challenges or obstacles in doing this work and sharing your gift with community? What have been some of the things that have been obstacles or got in your way? And how did you overcome it?
Um, there's many barriers. There's many barriers in the work that we do. A lot of them are broken systems.
Mm,
Broken systems, I think, in every arena. broken systems in the mental health system, broken system in the prison systems, broken systems with substance abuse and homelessness. There's broken systems, and it's been like that for a very long time. So trying to weave through some of those broken systems and trying to navigate through those has been difficult, but there's things that because of experience and there's things because of the work that we do, we're able to do that, but it was all a learning experience. I tell people all the time, learn from your clients, learn from the people that are out here, ask them questions how to do things. I remember taking somebody to DSS for food stamps, and I didn't know how to do that. Here, show me
Right.
how to do it, because I need to learn this so I could, the next person, and
Exactly.
so experience, but don't be afraid to learn from your clients. They're your best teachers,
Yeah.
and they don't mind if you ask them. So there's still barriers, there's still challenges. For instance, and I'll give you an example right now. I already know that there's going to be challenges trying to create my own shelter. And one of the biggest challenges, I believe, will be finding a space,
Mm.
because people are not going to be comfortable with having it in their backyard, having a shelter next to them in their neighborhoods. I get it. I get it on both ends. But we have to come to some resolution to how to create safe space for people in the neighborhood, but also safe space for the people that we are servicing. So that's a barrier. But I like challenges. So to me, I'm going to figure it out. Um, And same thing with everything I've done, figure out really what is best for the community, what is best for the people. I'm not afraid to go down and talk to politicians and talk about the issues, and, as a provider in the community, and advocate for people who can't advocate for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something that I again that I know you for, and that's why that's really what this platform is about. Really just highlighting our community heroes, and we're igniting hope. So you're an individual who, like I said, has ignited hope in me as a young person. That's why I see you still doing the work. So you continue to light the spark in me, but also like there's another Felicia out there. There's a young woman growing up in the city of Buffalo, a young man growing up in the city of Buffalo, that maybe doesn't want to be an athlete or an entertainer. You know what I'm saying? That wants to give back and wants to be a professional family member, and has gifts where like they're the vibe creator in their family, they're the go-to person in their family. And how do they leverage those skills? Do they even recognize that as skills? And so like people like yourself need to be visible so that other young people in our community can know that they can grow up, and be the next Felcia Cruz. So with that said, you got a lot going on. Of course, of course.
Okay.
And so we want to also give you the chance and opportunity just to talk about what do you want people to know? Like what's the takeaway message you want people to know about the importance of the work that you're doing, and how can they get involved with supporting the work that you're doing or educating themselves further, with so you're working on everything from substance use and abuse to mental health and wellness to veteran services, to homelessness to also I know being a mentor. So what are the key things that you're working on and how can people support you in your efforts?
Well, yeah, the key thing is, again, finding those areas that, everybody's kind of comfortable with, or even uncomfortable with. I'm not a person to, sometimes you got to be uncomfortable to get where you need to be,
Hmm.
but working on this shelter is huge for me. I would like to run it in ways that hasn't been run before.
Okay.
A lot of times, shelters aren't always run in ways that I would like them to be run.
Hmm.
There's still, individuals not treated right because they're homeless. I would like it in an area that is safe. A lot of times, we think, well, put the shelter in an area that's, nobody's gonna know about,
Hmm.
or somewhere far away. But changing that stigma, changing that that way of looking at what a homeless shelter is,
Right.
or understanding it, inviting people to forums and understanding the importance of why the shelter should exist. Why should we have women and children shelters? Why should we? Because we have to help each other. People are hurting. People are going through things. My mom always used to say, somebody always got it worse than you.
Yeah.
That's the true fact. So help each other. Don't hate on each other. Don't look down on each other, because I tell people this too. Like, I'm one paycheck away from being homeless. If you really want to be
Better say
real.
it.
And we never know what that, not most people that are homeless and have mental health sometimes didn't wake up and say, yeah, I'm gonna be homeless,
Right.
when I'm older, and I'm gonna use drugs when I'm older. So something happened to them. And I'm always trying to figure out, like, and I ask those questions. I asked a girl today, young girl, 21 years old, why are you homeless? What's going on? You
Mm-hmm.
know, okay, are you linked to services? I don't even know the girl. I was passing out lunches today downtown on my
Mm-hmm.
own, passing out lunches to the people by the library, people that have been in my shelters, and I seen this young girl, and I said, why are you homeless? Asking those questions. They're
Yeah.
people. Most people just walk on by, oh, they homeless, I'm not talking to them. Oh, they got mental health, I'm not talking to them. So just trying to find a way to relate to people and keep moving forward. And I don't like to get told no when it's stuff that has to be done for the people.
I know that.
So I'm gonna find a way around it, and just really also got to take care of
Mm-hmm.
yourself too. So in this line of work, as you know, it could be heavy. It could be heavy. Energy exchanges energy. So, you know, also being self-aware of yourself. There's been times where I've had to, take some time just for me, because you're carrying somebody else's load,
Yes.
and you still got to function in your own world. But I like to see people that maybe I haven't seen in a while, and they say, "You remember me? Remember when it was this and this and that?" I'll be like, yeah, I remember you.
No.
Don't really remember
Right.
them, but they remember you because you did something, you said something, you helped them with something. And it can be something so
Yep.
minimal that changed their life.
Yep.
So that's the type of energy I want to give out. And as far as young people, I love to see young people like yourself who are doing so much for the community and giving back, because we have to teach that to the young people.
Yeah.
Because I ain't as young as I used to be. So I need somebody, yes, I need another Felcia to
Mm-hmm.
come up and take the reins. But if anything, I could give back to anybody who is kind of wondering how to get, in those arenas. I'll take them under my wing as mentors took me under
Word. So
theirs.
that's what we're looking for, y'all. So if y'all out there in the community and y'all listening, get in the chat. Make sure y'all hit my sister Felcia up if you got a space or a building that she can get her shelter started and running out of.
Yes,
If you know how to get the paperwork and all the LLC, nonprofit, whatever that kind of stuff, if you got that skill set and you willing to help my sister, make sure you get in the comments and contact her. If you know how to fundraise, if you know how
yes,
to find that money, you know how to write them grants, make sure you link with my sister. If you have people that could benefit from the services, whether it's the mental health or the homelessness services that my sister is offering, make sure you get in the comments, get with her, make sure that she's tagged on everything so that way you can DM her and contact her in order to support. Because that's what this platform is about. It's somebody out there that's probably the missing piece of your puzzle and didn't know that you existed until they took the time to watch this clip or watch this whole interview. So as we begin to close, just a couple of things. No doubt,
yes.
you kind of took me there, and I'm like, oh, I hope she don't go all the way there. But we talk a lot about like service of others, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
my hero, as folks may know, is Jerry Springer. And so at the end of his show, he, yeah,
I think I knew that.
yeah,
I did know that.
that's my Uncle Jerry. And so at the end of every show, Uncle Jerry always closed it out with, "You take care of yourself and each other." And I think a lot of us who do this work
Right.
as professional family members understand the taking care of each other part. We do that very well. The part where we're like struggling, I feel like, is the taking care of ourselves. So if you could just give me one or two things that you do as part of your self-care regimen that we could leave our audience with, and then we can begin to close.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out, for my own self, because I teach coping skills, especially to, on the phone lines, we talk about coping skills, and coping skills are important. When you're going through something, your go-to, and one of the things that I do if, I need to, I like to exercise, but that could look like either going to the gym or walking or just riding a bike. That's that 1 hour that I get to
Mm.
myself and I shut down the rest of the world. The other 23 hours of the day, somebody has my attention. Whether it be the kids, whether it be, my dog, I got a dog now. Whether that's a whole nother thing. But the rest of the world, the different jobs that I have, because I do work 2 and 3 jobs. So like having that hour, it doesn't have to be exercise, it could be meditation, just having that hour and to be able to step away and say, okay, I need me time because I gotta tackle the world after this. So I gotta do something that's for me. And that don't mean doing grocery shopping, that don't mean doing laundry. That means doing something for me that I enjoy. I tell people, even if it's watching your favorite show, doing something for you and you just shut out the world for that 45 minutes to an hour is crucial,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I have to. That's how I got away with justifying my video game plan. I have to tell my daughter's mom, yeah,
You
it's
need
self
that.
care.
We need that.
Yeah,
We take on the world. We're
yeah,
human too. And like I said, negative energy and positive, it
they do.
transfers.
Yeah,
So I gotta get out there and put my face on. I can't be taking on the world and not have some type
right,
of self
right.
care.
Yeah. Well, I definitely appreciate you adding that to the conversation. Is there anything else that you want to share? Where can people find you at? Where can people support you? Go ahead and give your shout outs or whatever, however you want people to be able to connect with you.
I am on Facebook as Flee Marie, FLEEMARIE. Most people connect through there. Um, you have my information. If anybody reaches out to you, you're more than welcome to share my phone number. I've had the same number for 20 years, so it ain't gonna change, and I don't mind anybody calling me that needs help. My email, if they want to email me, is fcruz3426@yahoo.com. Yeah, if you see me out,
And don't be afraid to approach me
and
because I
don't be
talk
afraid
to
to approach me
everybody.
because I talk to everybody.
Well, yeah, that's a fact. We definitely, we definitely know you're a super approachable individual, and that's how we get this work done. So, again, want to thank my friend, my good friend, my battle buddy Felcia Cruz for joining us on the Igniting Hope Radio podcast. Thank you, audience members, once again for joining us. Again, I am Sherman Webb-Middlebrooks, lifelong Buffalo resident, full-time Black man. I am the men's health project manager over at the Center for Health Equity, who sponsors the Igniting Hope Radio podcast. Thank you for continuing our conversation, talking about the social determinants of health. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Share this with somebody who's going to find value, and continue igniting that discussion in the comments. Peace.
Thank you, Sherman. Appreciate it.
Of
Thank you,
course.
Sherman.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Felcia.
you.